Okay, so last time we tried to put some numbers, some values to the aggregate demand to see how we can draw it on a Cartesian plan, how we can find mathematically the equilibrium. So as you see, we have some data, and we have our two incognitas, which are aggregate demand and income, right? So first thing we need to do is just to substitute the numbers to the letters, which is not very hard. So, see, 0 plus 0.7 y minus t plus e plus g. Easy. We solve the parentheses. Easy. We put the numbers together. So did I do the sum correctly? Hopefully. Okay, so this is our aggregate demand function. As you see, with number, it's much easier than with letters, because with number you already put them all together, right? So you have a very simple straight line to draw on your Cartesian plan. You just have your y on the y-axis, aggregate demand, you have your intercept, and you have your slope. Correct? Splendid. Then, if you remember well, you remember that the equilibrium was when aggregate demand was equal to national income, right? Meaning that if we want to find the equilibrium of the system, we need to put them on a system, right? Because I do it a little graph. This was aggregate demand. This was the dissect when aggregate demand is equal to national income, and they were meeting in this point. This point is the meeting point of the two straight line. How do you find the meeting point of two straight line? You put them on a system. And this way we find the equilibrium income and the correspondent value of the aggregate demand, which is going to be the same, of course. Very clear up to here? Right? It's quite easy to see that since we have aggregate demand equal to this and aggregate demand equal to y, we solve the system by substitution, right? We simply write y instead of aggregate demand. So to solve the system, we can just solve the equation. We just have to solve this equation, correct? No doubts? Fabulous. We do all the steps. Okay. Hmm? Is it very clear all the steps we did to solve it? No doubts on it? So we know that 6,146.76, 767 is the equilibrium income, so it's going to be the value of the equilibrium income as well as the value of aggregate demand. Correct? So this is quite simple. Now we already have all the data to draw it, because we have this point. What is the value of this point? Okay, we have this point which is 1844, and we have those values which is 6,146.76. Okay? So when you need to draw it, of course, as always, you need to calibrate in a good way your Cartesian plan. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 6,000. 146.67 is going to be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 6, 1, 4, 6, 67 is here. And then 1844, 1 is here. So we know that from the equilibrium point, we'll pass both by z when AD is equal to y. You remember this is the straight line representing all the equilibrium points in all the possible system that exists. And here we have our aggregate demand. Okay, so you don't need to do any kind of calculation to draw correctly the equilibrium on the good market, because you always have the intercepted data, and anyway you need to find the equilibrium value. So those are the only two values you need. The only thing you need to do to draw it correctly is to calibrate well your Cartesian plan so that it's, the drawing is correct. Life is very hard. It's a very hard place. But you're gonna get over it.
I put the point I found in my life.
Okie dokie, so I think the mathematical part is quite easy. No problem, no problem. So, as you see, mathematically the slope of the aggregate demand is the propensity to consume. So I made you do firstly the math part, so you can understand better how the situation works, and now we do it theoretically. We do with letters, and we will finally understand Keynes' recipes in concrete. So, we start from this equation, because what we did was just substitute a number over here and put them on a system. We don't have number, so we need to put them on a system to solve it. So we will write y equal to aggregate demand, C0 plus little c, y minus t plus I plus g. Solve the parentheses. Okay? We need to transport the y on the other side. This very hard step is clear to everybody. We just put the y together. Okay? No doubts? No doubts? Sure? Great. You agree with me that all those are numbers? Correct? All those are numbers because all those was 1844. Okay? So to simplify our life, we call them A. So to find the equilibrium income, this is going to be A divided by 1 minus C, correct? Fantastic. But we can write it also as okay, we can just take out the A. We take the A out of the fraction and we get 1 divided 1 minus C. Okay? So we can see that actually the formula of the equilibrium is going to be this. y, 1 divided 1 minus c, multiplied by a. In a are included all these factors, which, if you see, is exactly what we did here. 0.3 was 1 minus c. This was a divided 1 minus c. Okay. Why we took away this? Because this has a name, and it is called Keynesian multiplier. Keynesian multiplier. Okay? This was one of the, how could I say, mathematical theory, objective theories used by Keynes to support his solutions to get out of the 29 crisis. If you remember Keynesian recipes, what did Keynes told to the President of the United States to do? What was Keynesian recipes? First of all, what did the state need to do?
Out of the one.
Give the jobs to the people and pay their salary with public debt. So increase G, increase governmental expenditure, correct? And the second recipe was to push people to consume. You remember it, right? So mainly, to sum up very quickly, what Keynes said was that to make the economy restart, you state need to give job to people, because people will have jobs, will earn money, and will restart to consume, and the economy will restart. So you state have to give the job to those people, and you need to pay their salaries. Up to now, you paid the salary with taxes. But if you increase government expenditure and also increase taxes, the effect will be zero. And now you can see it mathematically, okay? Because if I increase governmental expenditure of 100, but those 100 I took from taxes, on the system, the effect is gonna be zero. Look inside A, right? So you can't pay it by taxes, you need to use public debt. So first explanation, you can't pay those salaries to people with taxes, you need to find another way. The other way is public debt. So the governmental expenditure cannot be supported and financed by taxes, need to be financed also by public debt. If you state want to have an effect on the system. First. Second, an increase in governmental expenditure will lead to an increase in national income. And you can see it here. Okay, inside A is governmental expenditure. If this goes up, this goes up. Clear? Sure. Third, you need to push people to consume. Why? Because the Keynesian multiplier tells you the wideness of the effect. So the higher is the propension to consume, the higher will be this value. Let's make it clear with an example. Let's take two states, state alpha and state beta. They both have an increase in government expenditure of 200. Same increase, correct? So they both will have an effect on the income. The national income will increase. But those countries have different propension to consume. Country alpha has a propension to consume of 50%, and country beta has a propension to consume of 90%. Let's see the value of Keynesian multiplier in those countries. In here we have 1 divided 0.5, which is 2. Right? In here we have 1 divided 0.1, correct? Which is 10. Okay? So to see the increase in national income due to an increase in government expenditure, in here I will multiply by 2 and I will get 400. But in here I will multiply by 10 and I will get 2000. You see the difference?
That the income in state beta is
To the state alpha, right? But the state made the same effort. In both states, the state made the same effort. In both states, the state increased its expenses by 200. There was an increase exactly identical, 200. But the state having the propension, the higher propension to consume, had an effect much, much bigger than the state that has a lower propension to consume. Because if I want to see the variation in income due to a variation in one of the elements of A, I need to multiply them by the Keynesian multiplier. Okay. Do you have some question about it? No question, no doubts? It's very clear? It's very important also that you remember how Keynes used the Keynesian multiplier to support its theory, right? Those three aspects. That is very clear to you. First aspect, you can't use taxes to cover your expenditure, because if not, the effect is going to be zero. An increase in government expenditure will lead to an increase in national income, second point, and the effect of the increase in government expenditure will be higher on the income, the higher is going to be the propension to consume. Correct? So 3 points by which this multiplier has been used to support Keynesian theories. And I think we are done for today.